What if I told you that the most crucial piece to Toronto's championship puzzle isn't Scotty Barnes, isn't Brandon Ingram, but a 21-year-old kid from Kansas who's about to shock the entire NBA? We're talking about a season that could transform Grady Dick from promising prospect to legitimate all-star candidate. And honestly, this is insane when you dive into the numbers. What's up, Raptors Nation? Quick Court coming in hot with the content you've been craving. Your boy is here to break down why Year 3, Grady Dick is about to be the breakout story of the 2025-26 season. And trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this entire breakdown. Now I know what you're thinking. After that injury-shortened 2024-25 campaign, can Grady really take that next step? Well, let me tell you something that's going to blow your mind. We're not just talking about improvement here, we're talking about a complete transformation that could make Raptors fans forget all about those dark tank years. Drop your predictions in the comments below. How many points per game do you think Grady will average this season? And Raptors Nation, if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that notification bell because you'll see why this season could be the one where everything clicks for our young sharpshooter. The tale of two seasons. Let's get real about what happened in 2024-25. Grady Dick's sophomore year was literally split down the middle. The first half? Pure magic. 32 minutes per game, 17.8 points, shooting 42% from the field and 35% from three. The kid was looking like the steal of the 2023 draft. But then reality hit. The second half was brutal. Minutes dropped, efficiency tanked, and that knee injury that cost him the final 20 games. Numbers don't lie. 26.7 minutes, 10.8 points, and shooting splits that made us all question if the early season was just a mirage. Here's the thing though, and Bobby Webster himself confirmed this in multiple interviews, the Raptors know what they have in Grady. They exercised that $499 million team option faster than Jakob Poeltl can sink a hook shot. Why? Because they see what we all saw in those first 28 games. What do you think was the difference between early season Grady and post-All-Star Grady? Let me know your thoughts. The hidden shooting numbers. That'll shock you. Everyone keeps saying Grady only shot 35% from three last season. Only? Are you kidding me? Let me break this down for you with some numbers that'll make you realize why this kid is special. That's a 38% on catch-and-shoot threes. 46% when unguarded. That's elite territory. 42% on spot-up opportunities. 84th percentile in the entire league. The problem wasn't his shooting ability. It was the difficulty of shots he was forced to take. The Raptors were asking a second-year player to bail them out of impossible offensive possessions. That's not sustainable, and it's not fair to the kid. But here's where it gets interesting. With Brandon Ingram now healthy and ready to be that primary offensive creator, Grady won't have to carry that burden anymore. Ingram's gravity will create those open looks that Dick absolutely feasts on. Remember, this is the same player who shot 48% from the corners as a rookie. The Brandon Ingram effect people keep sleeping on what Brandon Ingram brings to this equation. We're talking about a former All-Star who's been the focal point of offenses before. When Ingram draws double teams, when defenses collapse on his drives, guess who's going to be sitting pretty in those corners and wings? That's right, Grady Dick, with all the time in the world to let it fly. And let's talk about historical precedents here. Remember when the San Antonio Spurs had Tony Parker creating for shooters like Danny Green? Or when the Miami Heat had LeBron setting up Ray Allen? This is the same dynamic we're looking at with Ingram and Dick. Do you see the Ingram-Dick connection becoming the next great Raptors duo? Sound off below. But here's what gets me fired up. Grady isn't just a shooter anymore. Bobby Webster and Darko Rajakovic have been raving about his court vision and passing ability. We saw glimpses of it with that 7-assist game against Denver. The kid can read the floor, and that secondary playmaking is what separates good shooters from great players. The defensive reality check now. Let's address the elephant in the room. Defense. Grady Dick is not, and probably never will be, a lockdown defender. But you know what? Neither was Reggie Miller. Neither was Klay Thompson in his early years. Neither was Kyle Korver. The key is smart team defense and hiding him in the right spots. The Raptors have the personnel to do exactly that. Jakob Poeltl can protect the rim, Scotty Barnes can guard multiple positions, and RJ Barrett has shown improvement on that end. What Grady needs to do is make the simple rotations, stay engaged, and use his 6.6 frame to disrupt passing lanes. If he can avoid being a complete liability, and his effort level suggests he will, then his offensive impact more than makes up for any defensive shortcomings. Subscribe if you want more real talk about what it takes to win in this league. The contract situation that changes everything. Here's something casual fans don't realize. Grady Dick is entering the most important stretch of his career. That team option for 2026-27 worth $7.13 million is looming large. This isn't just about development anymore. This is about proving he belongs in the NBA long term. And you know what happens when young players have something to prove? They either crumble under the pressure or they explode into stardom. Based on everything we've seen from Grady's work ethic and character, I'm betting on explosion. Think about it. He gained 13 pounds of muscle in the offseason after his injury. He's been working with shooting coaches, studying film, and preparing for exactly this moment. The kid knows this is his chance. What type of contract do you think Grady will earn after this season? Drop your predictions. The championship window. Let's zoom out for a second. The Raptors aren't just trying to develop players anymore, they're trying to win. With Scotty Barnes locked up long-term, Brandon Ingram healthy, and Jakob Poeltl anchoring the defense, this team has legitimate playoff aspirations. But here's the thing about championship teams. They need that X-factor player who can get hot and swing a series. Think about Toronto's 2019 championship run. Yes, Kawhi was the star, but who hit clutch shots throughout that playoff run? Role players stepping up when it mattered most. Grady Dick has that clutch gene. We've seen it in those 30-point outbursts, we've seen it in his willingness to take big shots. If he can put together a full season of that level of play, this Raptors team becomes dangerous. Are you ready for another championship parade in Toronto? Because I sure am. Listen up, Raptors Nation, this is bigger than just one player's development. This is about a franchise that's tired of moral victories and ready to get back to championship contention. Grady Dick isn't just a nice story anymore. He's a cornerstone piece that could determine whether this core reaches its full potential. While other teams are overpaying for aging veterans, the Raptors have a 21-year-old sniper who's hungry, healthy, and ready to prove doubters wrong. That's the kind of player that wins championships. And that's the kind of season we're about to witness. What punishment would you give to teams that overlooked Grady in the draft if